Abu? Hi, I was doing a thing. Hi, Tiana! When you found out I tagged you on Instagram. Oh, I never open Instagram. Let me go take a look. And also, thank you for subscribing for 5 months. No worry. Well, if you want to show it off, then you would have to send it to me on Discord, because I'm not signed in on Instagram on my computer. I have to... Where do you will find... I can do the show off for you, don't worry. Also, YouTube, are you okay? Got it, got it. Ah, all the VODs uploaded. Oh no, he's adorable! Hold on. Oh. Oh no. I love him. Copy. Copy link. Turn up to 1. Oh, hold on. Donde the heck is the anything? I don't care. It'll be immortalized in VOD form forever. Where is... Here we go. Do this. There we go. And why is just not on the right layer? Oh my god. There it is. Look at the boy. Very adorable. Absolutely love him. You did a great job. Oh. Aw, you got a little shiny. You did the glowy. Heck yeah. I like it. Oh. Dismiss this. Trying to remember if I got everything set up. Yeah, I'm totally going to use it because it's adorable, and I'll no longer be in Christmas land. I think my icon's still in Crimum. It is. Yeah, but I had it there since December, and it's no longer Christmas. Whoops. Okay. So on that note, let us. It's almost relevant, yeah. It's relevant once a year. Oh. But let us begin. Don't know much about this game other than it's a visual novel type game. And we should be able to finish it today. Or at least get through the main story. I'm sorry if my eyes are janky. Because, I'm wearing my glasses. Because my eyes demand it. Every time I look too far left at OBS, I blink. It's like, you can't be discreet and look. Wow, it real hates me. I should have asked this while at the, main menu where there was music, how the audio was. Poke. They thought of the faraway grave on the plain. They thought of the comrade who came not again. They lifted their glasses and sadly they said, okay? We drink to the name of the mate who is dead. Henry Lawson. I don't know who's talking. It's too bloody damp down here. I know we're underground, but I don't suppose there are any windows we could open. There's a ventilation duct in here somewhere. Muddy. Mind opening it up to get some fresh air circulating? All the ends blocked tight now. There's a dumpster sitting on top of it. You'll have to grin and bear it. Oh, am I supposed to click? Oh. Can we hurry this up? Calm your farm, old man. You're well aware it takes a while to set up. I don't appreciate your tone. Awesome, thank you. I was dumb, and I was like, oh, let me change how I'm doing everything. And then I deleted all of the audio stuff. So I'm going to have to redo Later Alligator's audio and redo it. Whoops. Sorry. At the very least, can we turn some lights on? With all the rubbish you've got scattered around the place, I'd like to at least know where I'm putting my feet. Ashley, would you mind? Boop. What? Was that a person? That's definitely a person. There's a person there. There's a she. And, you? Thanks. You're more organized than last time, I see. Huh. Practice makes perfect. Hey, Maddie. How much more wire do we need? I think that's enough. Great. Now? Che? What's up, little P? I found you a chair. Ah, thank you. So, this whole thing, surely it's not legal, yeah? Maddie wasn't clear on that. Yes, the council found it confronting. For good reasons, I suppose. Because it utterly upsets the natural order. Mate, it's not just bureaucracy. Shush you. Most rules can be bent after all. And Maddie is a particular fascinated with breaking rules. As I'm sure you've realized. Hey, don't give her all the credit. Bah. It's just related to her gambling for time. So, the transfer was the same sort of magic we're doing now, yes. Small scale, though. Doing it on a larger scale requires a bit more preparation. The council successfully suppressed all available information about it, though. For good reason. What happens if something goes wrong? Well, you don't tend to mess it up more than once. Or try it again after you fail, for that matter. Stubborn scholars notwithstanding. What do you even call this sort of magic, then? Question is irrelevant, because it's banned. Extremely cool? That's what I call it. Well, by definition, it's a conduit ritual. But hey, we're monk friends, so we can call it what it really is. There she is. Necromancy. Interesting, interesting. From your hazy memories, a certain word calls out to you. Necromancy. You try desperately to remember what it meant. Boop. Death. Oh. This fragment of a memory stays with you. Piece together the past. Remember what transpired. And never forget you are scattered, practice, fascination, forbidden, shell, bureaucracy, ban, disgust, amateur, expiry. Try to get as many of those as possible. There was a lot of them. I'm intrigued. Please do continue. Okay. What if I go backwards? Oh, I need to up my sensitivity. Can't go too far backwards. Okay. Here we go down this road to press and hold to inspect memory. What? Wait, no, I wasn't done reading that. Oh, wait, there it is. Maddie's rules. We welcome both living and dead. Patrons will be served in the order they arrived. Don't ask who's alive, it's rude. If someone wants you to know, they'll tell you. The dead have 24 hours to spend within the premises before moving on. Strictly enforced. No, we don't have Wi-Fi. Report broken items and other anomalies to staff. We can't clean up your broken glass or spatial rift if we don't know about it. Don't feed the Eidolons. What's an Eidolon? They can't eat, and offering them food just reminds them of the cruel fact. Oh. Karimashita. What if I just continue on into the void? Oh, it's letting me go into the void. It didn't let me go too far into the void. Alas. I tried. Oh, hi Ultimate. How you doing? Welcome on in. You should totally check out the art channel on the Discord to see the cute drawing Tiana made. Doing good, doing good. Tiana, everyone will know. Everyone will know. Good. Part 1. Yeah. Making kavi. The terminal. Bottleton, Victoria. Australia. I'm sorry? Australia 353. I mean 3050. What did I say? I don't know. Excerpts from online reviews. Pretty unremarkable coffee. Barista speaks Chinese but exclusively uses it to mock people to their faces. I'm very self-conscious about my top hat now. Observed little girl running around cafe with knife, unsupervised. Came down with deep sense of ennui. Ennui? What does ennui mean? Ennui. The feeling of listlessness and dissatisfaction arising from lack of occupation or excitement. Interesting. Was rudely told to stop being a big dweebus after complaining about burnt taste in coffee. This coffee's some of the best I've ever had. 5 stars. Disclosure, I have no taste buds. Oops. The door closes. By the way, I got curious about the word Eidolon. According to Google, they are from Greek mythology, ghosts or spirits that are like a copy of the deceased. Interesting. Oh. Hello, person. Are you the scout from... You're almost the scout from TF2. Hey, mate. You right? Fuck. You can see me? Clear as day, yeah. What can I get you? I've been walking around for hours. Nobody was talking to me. I didn't even know how I got in here. Haha. I think you'll find it was via the front door. Okay. Right. Where am I? This, dearly departed, is the terminal. Carlton's finest. Departed? They say our coffee's to die for. So, I don't really know how to go about this. Ask me anything, man. You're not the first disheveled dead guy to drop in, and I'm sure you won't be the last. What does everyone else ask? They generally ask, what does everyone else ask? Ah, heck. They always say that. And then there's the embarrassed silence. Alright, I get it. You make a habit of bullying everyone who comes through, or just the pitiful ones. It's almost exclusively the latter. I guess that's consistent. Always felt like people saw me as a pitiful guy. Sorry, I was actually just kidding there. No, you're right. I'm heckin' sad sack. Boss hated me, family hated me, work sucked, just like everything else about me. Now I'm never even going to have a chance to make things better for myself. That's it, stick a fork in me, I'm done. Hey, come on. And now I'm sitting in a cafe for dead people, falling apart in front of the barista. Mate, pull it together. Number 1 rule, no breakdowns in the cafe, please. Promise, man, you're okay. I know how it is. Are you dead? No, and I don't know if you read the rules outside, but I did, yes, I can't even get that right. In that case, you'll also have read that you have 24 hours left before you gotta move on to the next place. And I don't think you want to spend them having one big, long, extended panic attack. 24 hours? Ah, heck. What I'm saying is, everything's okay. Just take some deep rest. We'll sort this out. I'm sorry. I don't want to be a fuss. Cafe's empty. It's not like I've got anything else going on. Don't worry about it. Are you sure? Kind of a burden. You're not, I promise. Chin up, mate. I can't do an Australian accent, by the way, so you're going to have to deal with whatever comes out of my mouth. Let me tell you about the building. It's got some cool history. So, the first time I came here was about 4 years ago. And that's why you should never ever serve a martini to a dead biker, even if he specifically asks for one. Oh. Out of all the possible ways to react to that, that's one I certainly didn't expect. Yeah, no point in seeking eternal vengeance if you're going to have to leave in a few hours anyways. It kind of strips it of meaning, you know? There's no way to tell whether you'll even care once you crossed over. But then again, maybe I'm just being a buzzkill about it. Shouldn't go around policing people's reactions to things. I'm still wrapping my head around all this death, that is. Feels weird to say it, doesn't it? Weird. Yeah, that's the word. So you said most people don't even find out how they died before they passed, even if they got murdered or something? Yep. Most people don't die from murder. It's mostly sickness, or old age, or lawnmower accidents. Well, they call them accidents, but really loads of lawnmowers are possessed by evil spirits. That said... Alright, hold on just a moment. You can't just drop that and move on. Possessed lawnmowers? Seriously? Anything with a spinning blade attracts him. Garden equipment, blenders, power saws. They're a real pain in the arse. Gotta do at least 1 or 2 exorcisms a month on the coffee grinder. That's wild. So, I know I'm breaking the rules again, but how many people in here are dead? Yeah, it's a cafe for dead people. Does that mean it's everyone? Or some of these people just really into ghost cafes? A little of column A, a little of column B. Plenty of mortals come through. But this is one of the only crossing points in the country, so we get a lot of your type. That's also why the rent is so high. Because those vampires who own the place know we get a lot of foot traffic. Literal vampires? No. Like boomers, landlord class. Same thing I guess. So to answer your question, there are 9 customers in here right now. Out of those 9, yourself included, I'd say 4 or 5 of them are just passing through on their way to the next place. How can you tell? Once you've worked here for a while, you get a sort of sixth sense for this kind of thing. Gotcha. Speaking of sixth sense, I've got one for trouble. You have 2 sixth senses? Oh, she's so small! Hello? Ashley. Oh, hello, Ashley. Ashley had adopted cafe staff a couple years back, much in the same way that a puppy adopts a squeaky toy. She was the kind of ferociously smart kid who absorbed information like a sponge, but only used it to cause trouble. Today she was accompanied by the stench of motor oil and brought with her a look that said, "I'm an invincible genius." Oof. Oh wait, I can click on these? I didn't know that! Ashley has fancied herself a genius ever since the day that Maddie invited her to become a spunky psychic. Hello, Rowpy. How you doing? Egg! How you doing? I'm doing good. We're learning about the ghosts and the coffee. And this lady. She was mostly right about that one. Alright, I know that look. Hey, by the way, Rowpy, can you check out the art channel on the Discord? There's an absolutely adorable drawing Tiana did. Ah, darn. I hope we can do you a rest. I will tell. No, I won't not. Everyone must know. It's Rowpy. He would have seen it eventually. You know he would have. I just expedited the process. Bad frame. Stop dropping. Stop it. No, bad. No dropping. Yes, he would. Is he not on the Discord? Yeah, he's on the Discord. Yeah. Don't worry. It'll only last this stream. Don't you dare. It's still opened up in the browser. Save image as desktop. You better stay there. You better. What? I don't know what you're talking about. Cut the crap, kid. What are you after? I'm busy dealing with a customer. I'm not really needing any attention. Shut up, Kishan. I need an extra pair of hands, and none of my ashlings are around to help. Don't you have any clamps? I got you a bunch for your birthday last month. Aging a year just means you're 1 year closer to death, an odd thing to celebrate. They're all being used for other very important things. They were not. Pretty sure I saw one on a table upstairs earlier. No, I really need to help her. Ashley, I'm busy. Please. Hey, I could probably... I could... Come on, Ashley, you've got to let us work. I'm not going to get anything done down here if I have to keep going upstairs to find a screwdriver or shoot into place. Trying to improvise a screwdriver is a good way to end up with the stripped screws. Use the right tool for the job. But... Hey. No dice. What about Che? He can help me. Well, what about... He's emptying the dishwasher. Sound familiar? It should, because I told you to do it an hour ago. Uh-oh. It's really no trouble. Oh! Why don't I take this guy? Only thing he's busy with is being dead. Hey, come on. Ashley, I'm not going to argue with you about this. I'm sure you would rather relax and be bossed around. Also manners, we've talked about this. You got to be more respectful in front of customers. Please. I'm happy to go upstairs. Really, it's fine. I don't have anything else going on. And I'm super dead. I'm cool with it. I'm Kishan. Very dead guy. Happy to help. Yeah, sure? I can just send her back upstairs. I promise. I promise it's fine. I just sit around and be a pain otherwise. Perfect! Come on, peon! In follower hierarchy, peons are 1 level below assistant, 1 level above minion. Oh. Oh. We've work to do. Ashley wasn't getting enough attention. So with Maddie's newfound responsibilities, some sacrifices had to be made. This meant the kid would just have to occupy herself more often than not. She still felt guilty as heck about it, and... I reckon this place needs more plants. Jesus Christ, Che! You're gonna give me a heart attack, you... Oh, you're gonna give me a heart attack, you old bastard. What's on your mind? Head in the clouds, as per usual. Did I look like I was thinking weighty thoughts? Excruciating, so what's going on? Nothing important. Just my resting... Wow, this game uses a lot of language I don't use. Face. Nope. This one's different. How so? Your facial expression is reminding me of the time you tried to fist fight that cosplayer. Okay, yeah. Oh, the samurai. The one who barged in waving his gift sword katana around and demanding satisfaction after I refused to put 15 shots in his coffee? Really specific. What's it look like? It looks like you just got threatened with 1,000-fold Nippon steel. It's a precious memory, so I remember it very clearly. A mix of deep disgust. People with high disgust sensitivity seldom do well in a kitchen environment. Somehow, Maddie manages. A whole bunch of derision, and a tiny pinch of pity. Yep, that's me. What a mood. You alright though? Real talk. I'm fine. I'm actually fine, or let's not talk about it fine? The second one. Pharaoh. Offer's still open if you'd like to talk things out. In the meantime, sorry. Can I grab that tea towel? My hands are wet. Oh, yeah, here you go. So, did the dishes need hand washing, or... I'm sure I told Ashley to empty the dishwasher earlier. Nah, thing's busted. Door latch won't close. Might call the repairman. Ashley shouldn't wash him by hand Ashley shouldn't wash him by hand anyways. Her arm would corrode. So, I did it. Not a problem. Yeah, fair enough. So, like I mentioned, it'll need a repair, unless you want to let Ashley at it. Some people remain stubbornly defiant in the face of planned obsolescence. Replacements are for quitters. Oh. Yeah, no, I feel that. Still going to fix my GameCube eventually. It's very broken. It's like non-functional, but I'll fix it one day. I'll call the repairman myself. But our landline stopped working last week. We have a landline? Yes. Ancient technology. An inelegant tool for a less civilized age. Only works when you pay the bill, though. I don't know if it'd be cheaper to get it repaired or to just buy a new one and give Ashley the old one for parts. The costs are pretty close, all things considered. Oh, or was she talking? Hey, don't work too hard. You'll bury yourself into an early grave. Hey, you spent 50 years digging holes. If you want to see a lot of Earth, you can become a globetrotter, or can pick up a shovel. That sounds like pretty tough work, old man. Oh, old man. For your information, I'm barely, 170-ish? I'm failing to see the inaccuracy. It was a literal gold rush. Everyone was doing it. Only thing different about me is that I eventually started digging up things more interesting than gold. Only kind of gold I'm interested in is brown gold. Coffee. Shut up. Hey. So... I know it's just another stress on the stress pile, but I think we need to get in an order for more kitchenware soon. Yeah, and another thing that costs money. We're beginning to run out of cutlery, though. Summary of Offenses. Act 1988, Section 11C. A person must not, without reasonable excuse, proof of which lies in the person, have in his or her custody a knife in a public place or school. What? It keeps disappearing, not sure where. I don't know how long it can wait before we get more. Oh, what's this little dude? I don't know if we can afford that this month. Just, you know, everything's a bit too pricey right now. Doesn't help that the coffee cartels keep pushing prices up. I don't think the importer is part of a cartel. They're quite nice. I've seen photos of their kids. You ever spoke to them? They're obviously criminals with the prices they charge. The worst kind of criminals are the ones who operate within the bounds of legality. Correct. Wholesale my behind. And yet we keep buying from them. Well, yeah. The means are good, man. It's just everything else on top of them that's stressing me out. Yes. I'll happily accept the blame for some of that. It's fine. You don't have to. I know it's all on me. I just got to figure out how to pay everything off. Everything. And everyone. The sucky Council of Death and the doubly sucky time debt we owe to them are the last thing I want to think about right now. I've lost enough sleep over it already. Hey, I'm here to help. I'm worried about you, you know? You had a lot of responsibility dropped on you in a very short period of time. Maddie's been saddled with a great responsibility. She's still waiting for the great power that's supposed to come with it. Boop. And I can't help but feel a little bit culpable for that. I know. Yeah, I know. And you... I can't thank you enough. It's alright. Hold yourself together. We'll figure it out as a team, just like we always have. I just don't want to deal with it, you know? I get it. but I don't want you to feel like I'm imposing or interfering too much. I know the cafe is yours now, and even though things are a bit much at the moment, I know I keep saying this, Maddie, but I don't know how much time we have to deal with all of this before things start falling apart. Things are already falling apart. But you're going to have to face reality at some point, you know that, right? Che, oh my god, yes I know! I don't need any more reminders from you. Back off, man. The council's always on my mind. I can't escape them. My best is all I can do, okay? Just because you're my best friend and my old boss and my mentor doesn't mean I need you preaching to me about how I need to deal with my problems. Because they're my problems now, not yours. Alright. No worries. I'll give you some space. Might go check on Ashley. You seen her recently? She's upstairs, dragged a customer up there talking about clamps or something. I'd better go rescue them then. Be back in a bit. Dot. Wait, what's on the menu? Oh, wait, I can reverse. Hello? Hi? Hello? Welcome in, Lunite. How was your stream? How are you doing? Welcome on in. How do I do this again? There you go. Did the thing. Awesome, awesome. Yee. I have no idea what you were playing. But... Oh, hey! Thank you so much for following! Oh, come on in. Ah, a toaster. The best breed of fluffy. I don't know how to parse those letters. There are letters. I know what those letters are. I have no idea what that's supposed to mean. I'm so sorry. Shit, he's right. You laugh, you lose. Oh, that sounds fun. I'd probably fail instantly. On a lot of those. He's right, isn't he? They really could use some more plants. Where did the plants come from? Madam! Oh boy. Right. Aren't people supposed to do like an introduction when people raid? Do you know what those are? I'm Digits, although the fluffy dude's named Hex. Woo. And I play a variety of games and exist. Woo. Anyways. I'm not using that. No. Woo all the way. So, we're going to strap a big old steak knife to it, and I'm going to make them fight each other. I love it. This is going to be great. I want to build something that gets put on that TV show, Row Battle Royale, with flamethrowers on it. You're not going to put one on this little guy, are ya? A flamethrower? Probably not. But I want to record the fight on my phone so we can send it to the producers. Producers have a real thirst for schlock? Schlock. There you go. Parsed the word. Yeah, sure thing. Let's get this knife attached. Pass me those zip ties. Zip ties. And the knife. Knife. And my coffee. Are you sure? Who even gave you that? Coffee! Damn it. It's empty. My coffee is empty, Kishan. The world is beginning to vibrate. Maybe it's good that your cup runneth empty, yeah? I think my cup needs to runneth with more espresso in it. How many shots did you put in there? Too many, Kishan. But did anyone ask Icarus how many shots of espresso he had? Yeah, I'm reading a book about Icarus. Imagine being Daedalus and watching your son die doing the exact thing you told him not to do. Yeah. He flew up to the sun. I'm cultured. In unrelated news, I have a headache. I think you might want to read a little more about Icarus. There's a twist ending to that one. I'm holding a knife, Kishan. No spoilers. No spoilers. Promise. Alright, Che. Just say hi. Try not to get a knife slung at you this time. This time! You got this. Ahem. Hey, kids! Ah! Intruder! She's a good throw. Almost hit him. Keishan, my buddy, my pal. Did I get him? No. You missed. Dang it. But wait. You threw it on purpose? Extremely on purpose, yes. I'm fine, by the way. Oh, it's just you. Would it have been worse if it was someone else? Probably. Unless there was an actual spy coming to steal my robot designs. We never knew who might be watching. Okay. Then it would have been good. Oh, wait, hold on, what did she just say? There's a rollback. I just learned that. Then it would have been good, okay. That is what she said. Hey, I think I'm crashing. Oh no. Is she okay? Did I kill her? You'll wake up in about 15 minutes with no ill effects. But you probably shouldn't give her any more coffee. She turns into a real goblin. Not to be confused with days when she's just a regular gremlin. Ah, I see. Oh. She told me that it'd make her immeasurably powerful. I mean, she's not wrong, but you know, great power, great responsibility, yada yada yada. She's 13. She's got plenty of energy already. Maybe not the sense of responsibility, though. Oh, yeah, I don't even know how I ended up sitting here attaching knives to robots. She's very convincing. Ashley's persuasiveness is a mystery. It clearly can't be logic, eloquence, or charisma that causes people to do her bidding. You don't have to tell me, mate. She basically lives here. Her parents would kill me if they found out she'd nearly killed me. What? Pretty good blind throw, though. She makes me proud in the weirdest ways. Huh. Did she learn from the best? She did, but the best definitely wasn't me. Maddie's pretty deadly with knives. Oh. Loves her flashy tricks. Bad habit, probably. Oh. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm being very rude. My name's Che. I used to own this place. Now I just sort of sit around and cause trouble and sometimes have knives thrown at me, I guess. I'm Kishan, and I died today. You know, casual sentences. You know, your average Wednesday. Wake up, die. Go to a coffee shop. So you have a 13-year-old gremlin that can throw knives. That's reassuring. Correct! I'm alive. I'm alive. Oof. We got a loud one here. Be nice. You know it's scary waking up. Big lights coming towards me. I think it's reliving its last moments. Looks like it. What is happening? Hello. I do not remember having this many limbs. Join the club, pal. We are reborn in a new image. I see. I'm Kepler. Nice to meet ya. I'm Jacoby. I am undefined. I don't know if that name will stick. Its body is made of a milk carton. Should we just call it Milk? No, too basic. Imagine if you'd call me Goon, just because I made it out of a Goon box. I wouldn't like that at all. I don't know! My friends Utao's named Milk, and they're very popular. And I don't know where I was going to go with that. But Milk's a good voice bank. Do recommend if you're inside the vocal synth community. Fun future projects happening with them. Ashley was yelling about someone called Lovelace the other day. That's a good one, I think. How does our new friend feel about it? Acceptable. Excellent. Nice to meet you, Lovelace. I have no idea what that was about, but you okay? We are loading today. Look at you turning into a responsible human being. What human being, Amdog? During intermissions at the end of episodes, you can freely explore the terminal. Memories are scattered throughout the terminal that delve into the tales of its patrons. More locations and memories become available as you progress through the main story. Neat. Let's explore. Row Battle Royale Robots Power Rankings. Windlass. When I first saw the name of this robot, I thought it was styled to be like a girl who could control storms and run like a ninja, a real lass of the wind. Or maybe a girl of the elements, someone with the ability to become the wind itself. If I were a windlass, I could vanish in an instant whenever Maddie appeared. She would look around and say, "Where's Ashley?" And I would be right there, but she wouldn't notice because I would be one with the wind. Then when she left, I would fade back into the room like a ninja. This would only work outside and in the rooms that are really breezy, so I would probably set up fans in a workshop to make it really drafty. Then I looked it up online and learned that windlass is actually a fancy name for winch used to pull anchors up, which at first made me think this bot was lame. It works by hooking its arms under enemy bots and pulling it up to flip them over. It never even tries to smash the other bots to bits or melt it with fire. But then I watched it in action and realized that flipping your enemy on their back is incapacitate them is the ultimate ninja move. Windlass moves like a master, spending the entire match trying to bait his opponents to exposing its weakness. And then, like a ninja master that knows how to jab at exactly the right pressure point on the back of the neck to make sure her enemy's head explode. Oh god. This is Necrobarista. It's a visual novel where I guess there's a cafe for the dead. Right now we're in the intermission. Windlass grabs the enemy bot by the one part of it that happens to be sticking out at the wrong time and flips it back onto its back. Note, most bots only have wheels or legs on the bottom, not on the top, so when you flip them over, they are totally helpless and the match is over. Thank you for the food, it is greatly appreciated. Now why is my computer dying? Well, it wasn't a lot of frames, but still upset that there are frames being dropped. Bad computer. Stop that. You can do better. Actually, let me quickly check if it's, docs, stats. Oh, most of them are network lag. I wonder if it's when my, Did that play? I didn't hear it. Someone who was paying attention, did the play? I sure wasn't paying attention. Whoops. Okay. Why didn't I hear it? So weird. To avoid this happening, make sure to put wheels on the top as well. When I make a bot like Gwynlass, I want to call it badass because that's what it is. Interesting. What was I? What words? What language? I don't remember what's happening. Crucible product reviews. Spirit resistant quartz crucibles with self-sealing lids. Product description. Heat resistant up to 1650 degrees Celsius. Oh my god. Self-sealing lids form airtight seals around the crucible round rim. Highly resistant to corruption and spiritual interference. Clear inner and outer covering allows for easy spotting of cracks and imperfections. Quality suitable for mixing potions and filters. Average rating 3.5 stars out of 5. Product review 5 out of 5. I love this. The covering, despite being quartz, has a texture appearance that gives it a silky smooth feel to it. Most of crucibles feel sterile and cold, but this one makes for a perfect beverage container when entertaining guests. 4 out of 5. The previous crucible set I used was inherited from my grandmother, who brought them over from New England. Unfortunately, 2 months at sea were not kind to her spiritware, and her crucibles were filled with tiny cracks and microfractures that allowed unsightly looking soot to build up, leaving them stained with hard gray lines everywhere, looking like they were about to crack apart at any moment. She used them for several decades to come, but every time I worked with her and watched them heat up, I was afraid they were constantly on the verge of shattering. One she used to contain a lost wayward spirit for several days before finding a home for it, and I would get up at night to check the embers under the crucible, and it always unsettled me how fragile the container was. Several times I found myself tempted to tip the crucible over, just to see how easily it would shatter under my soft touch. Needless to say, this new set is much nicer. They are sterile, and I can keep several of them in my bedroom without feeling unsettled by their presence. 2 of the crucibles in my set arrived with small chips in them, but I contacted the manufacturer to replace them at no charge. Replacement was express shipped, and the process was quick and painless, so great customer service, and they offer replacements up to 1 year for the price that can't be beat. 4 out of 5. Owned mine for 2 weeks and it didn't crack. Decent for the price. 4 out of 5. 5 out of 5. Received mine in the mail this morning and can't wait to try it out. So glad that I finally found someone selling crucibles at a reasonable price. The brand one costs over $200, which is just courageous. 1 out of 5. Bought just several weeks ago since it was the cheapest crucible on the site, advertised as spirit resistant. I'm working on a filter for my graduate thesis and purchased 100 of these for lab use. My plan was to monitor 100 different animal spirits over the different types of plant matter, compared how different biomaterials affected their vigor over a 90-day period. The first day I set the first 5 samples of mugroot, feverfew, ginger, ginseng, and golden seal. I placed them in crucibles over low heat, 80 Celsius, and left them overnight. Over the next few days, did the same with all the remaining crucibles, finished on Friday and leaving the lab alone for the weekend. When I arrived back on Monday, I knew that something was wrong when I noticed a rain cloud hovering over the door. It was not uncommon for rain clouds to appear at any time of the year, at any time of the day in our part of the country, but it's quite another to find a rain cloud localized entirely within the hallway of your research lab. Ooh! I braced for the worst, but I guess I should have braced harder. Nothing could have prepared me for the smell when I opened the door. I immediately felt my eyes watering and actually found myself choking. It smelled so bad. I slammed the door shut and went to the basement to grab one of the emergency respirators we keep down there. Unfortunately, the respirator did little to mask the terrible stench inside of the lab. I opened the first crucible and saw it was filled with tar-like substance, and as I studied its inky black writhing form, I felt the air sucked out of me, almost like it was trying to drag me into the abyss with it. I threw it onto the floor and the container shattered, splattering the floor with tar-like substance, which began slowly crawling across the room. I grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and sprayed the tar until it was completely smothered, and I heard that sounded like a sputtering noise followed by a long gasp and scream that faded into oblivion. After poking at the fire extinguisher spray, whatever was underneath was clearly quenched. I took the remaining crucibles and placed them in the oven and baked them at a temperature of very high temperature for several hours as I sat alone in the lab, contemplating the cruelty of existence and wondering what my academic advisors would have to say about my thesis project. After several hours of waiting, I opened the crucible and checked the contents of crucibles, revealing nothing but ash. Whatever it was that had been drawn by the spiritual emissions from my lab work, it was gone from my world, but the memory of that day will haunt me for all the remaining days of my life. 1 out of 5. Do not buy the crucible for spirit-related applications. My wife is one of the product designers who worked on this item. The crucible in this listing comes from a manufacturer called Mars Security LLC. Back in 2013, there was some of the best hardware you could get for your money and earned a reputation among hobbyists as great value for anyone working on a budget. In 2016, they did a survey and found that fewer than 3% of buyers were actually using the crucible for spirit-related applications, decided they could cut costs by removing the spirit-resistant properties. However, they found the product advertised with updated ads reflect this didn't sell as well, so they continued using the old product description, which advertised it as spirit-resistant, with the new product line, which is not spirit-resistant. I don't know how they are getting away with this. Apparently, the definition of what is actually spirit-resistant are legally mercury, and the number of people affected is small enough that they continue to sell well. Stay far, far away from this one and warn anyone you know of who might buy an item like this that it does not work as advertised. 5 out of 5. Nice color. That was a lot of text. My throat is not happy. Ooh, they got chai tea. Lemongrass. Actually, I'm not really a fan of lemongrass, but peppermint's nice. What is sencha? House blend, black or white, single origin? Mocha, hot chocolate. Get me some hot chocolate, please. Milkshakes, they got milkshakes. Toast, eggs, muesli. What's muesli? I think that's a not American thing. Croissant, avocado toast, steak sandwich, grilled cheese. I so badly wanted to say grilled geese for some reason. Bacon, avocado, big breakfast, eggs, mushrooms, not a fan of mushrooms, bacon, grilled tomatoes, baked beans, black pudding for breakfast, sourdough toast, blueberry pancakes served with vanilla ice cream. No, we're not ready to continue. Still looking around. Oh, here we go. Should I really do this now? How many are there? So just fisherman 1. For some reason, this aspect ratio is not doing it for me. Authentic Australian lamingtons. What's a lamington? I have to look that up. Lamingtons. Lamington is an Australian cake made from squares of butter cake or sponge cake coated in an outer layer of chocolate sauce and rolled in desiccated coconut. The thin mixture is absorbed into the outside of the sponge cake and left to set, giving the cake a distinctive texture. A common variation has a layer of cream or strawberry between 2 lamington halves. Ooh, that sounds yummy. I would like to eat that. And actually, before we continue, let's do a quick stretch break. I am going to be running some ads, so if you are not subscribed, I am sorry, you will see them. But as a reminder, it is September, so subscriptions are discounted. And with that, you won't see ads. Gosh, my brain is not sequencing words correctly today. Right now. Hello? But don't worry, you won't miss a single bit of gameplay, because I will wait for the ads to be finished. I will see you all in a few moments. I will. I forgot to go do the stretch break spiel. Going to do a stretchy. Oh, well, there's my model. How to do your back good. Or something like that. Oh, frames, stop that. Ooh, that was almost bad. Left me threatened to give me a bad time. I do not wish for the bad time, knee. That is, not what I'm expecting. Anyways, that should theoretically be done-ish. So, what's this bookmark? Save, load your progress. Oh. Act 1, Prologue. Welcome to the term of visitation. Huh. Oh, there was so much talking. We only did Act 1. Can I not save? How do I save? No. What? Usable product view. Oh, as soon as you find a memory, you find an image. There's Maddie. I think. Oh, that's a brilliant image. How does scrolling on this work? Can you even scroll? Is this bar do any? Oh, it does. I was just misclicking. Oh, there's a lot of them. Let's read this. Authentic Australian lamingtons. Ingredients. Oh no, it's in grams. Oh god. 200 grams butter, 1 cup castor sugar, 5 milliliters vanilla extract. What's a male fowl? Male, melu, maye fowl. I don't know. 500 grams self-rising flour sifted. Who the heck has self-rising flour? 1/2 cup milk, 2 cups shredded coconut, icing, 4 teaspoons sugar mixed and dissolved in water, 1/4 cup cocoa powder, 100 grams butter, 1/2 cup water. You will also need convection oven. Where do you... Convection oven? Isn't that an oven that does the air circulation? Oh god. Lamington pan. There's a specific lamington pan. Baking paper, an electric mixer, a lamington. Sorry? Possible substitutions. Chicken eggs can be used in place of something eggs. If electricity is not available, whale oil mixtures can be used in... I'm sorry? It is strongly hypothesized that a homunculus made with lamington DNA could be used in lieu of an actual lamington... What? But no confirmed tests have been confirmed due to the lack of success in producing actual homunculi, especially homunculi capable of baking. Gomenasari? Instructions. Grease lamington pan, line with baking paper. Using electric mixer, beat butter, vanilla, and sugar until airy. Add eggs to mixture. Use your lamington Have your lamington stir flour into mixture and add milk. Okay, so I have lamington pour into pan and smooth. At this point, you may dismiss your lamington. They are no longer needed. Question mark? Bake for 30 minutes. Make icing. Boil water and combine ingredients. Beat until smooth. Apply icing coating 1mm thick and sprinkle coconut. Repeat until all icing and coconut have been used. Note that it is not necessary to have a lamington perform this step. Tips for procuring lamington. Any recently departed lamington who comes into contact with 40 to 60 mixture of vanilla and coconut will begin to glow red. Note that a 30-70 vanilla coconut mixture will cause them to glow green. The 30-70 mixture can be used in case of potential lamingtons who have particularly flushed cheeks or are otherwise difficult to identify by a red glow, but this is generally discouraged as the effects can persist for several hours and can often be unsettling to guests. Gomenisari? Only around 20% of people who claim to be lamingtons have actual lamington ancestry, hence the need to test potential candidates. Be particularly skeptical of anyone who claims to be overwhelming of these claimants being false positives. Most lamingtons were agricultural workers, so anyone claiming to be descended from a farmer of lamington is more likely to be credible, but should still be tested to verify authenticity. Do not bother testing anyone claiming to be descended from the third Baron of Lamington, as Victor Alexander Brisbane William Conchernal died childless. Gluten-free options. Have a lamington stir self-raising flour into the mixture is critical to the synthesis process and will not work with non-gluten alternatives. Rip. Was that it? I expected a cake recipe and I got I got Lord. I threw the lore in. Very powerful lore. Is this a tree? Oh, it would be very neat to see a tree inside a building. I guess let's read this. Maddie was about to leave the counter when a old-looking man pushed the door open. He was slunched over and he walked with a little limp. Even at his distance, you can see the leathery texture of his skin, testament to many years well lived. Pardon? Maddie had been about to leave the counter to Che, but there was something in the way the man walked that made her want to stay long enough to see if he had any special request. She wasn't sure if she would like the man, and in fact, she was fairly sure that there was a good chance that she wouldn't have much to say the man, or much that she would be interested in hearing from him. It was obvious that the man had paid his dues, and she felt that she owed him at least a few moments of her time. Even if he hadn't done anything in his life worthy of admiration, he at least had done enough to earn her respect. It was only when the man sat down that Maddie saw that his skin was cracked, not wrinkled. His body had been aged, but had been aged by the elements and the sun more than it had been aged by the passage of time. The slight limp in his step could have easily been the limp of a young man who had spent one day too many lifting loads that were 1 kilo too heavy for him. He took the seat directly in front of her. You serve food here? Apparently the man was more interested in finding out what was on offer than figuring out where he was. Maddie kept herself from visibly smirking. There was something she liked about guests like that, people whose only question was what was on tap. Maddie glanced at Che. He gave a nod of assent. Yes, Che was willing to play the role of grillmaster today. We do serve food, she said. The man squinted up at the menu above him. My eyes don't work too well in this light, he said. Got a paper menu? Maddie reached under the counter and pulled out a menu that looked just as aged as the man sitting in front of her. Its scars were from coffee stains, not cuts, but as watched the man hold the menu, there was something about the combination of two of them that felt right to her. The man stared at the menu for a good deal longer than it must have taken him to read everything on it. He finally spoke after a long, considered pause. Do you suppose it would be a problem if I were to order something if I didn't intend to actually eat it? It's not the kind of thing that would offend me, said Maddie. Actually, it was exactly the kind of thing that would offend her. Yet there was something in the way that the man asked that made her feel like whatever reason he might have for not eating food he was served, it would be a good one. And she was half interested to find out what the man's reaction would be. I'll have a grilled halibut, he said. Ah, halibut, said Maddie. She understood. Many people enjoyed the concept of grilled fish more than they liked it in practice, and if this man knew himself well enough to be upfront and honest about it, she could respect that. I can't promise that it's never been frozen. I hope that's not a problem, she said, sure that it wouldn't be. Sounds like my kind of fish, said the man. The best halibut swim in cold water. Ain't a problem if that water happens to be in solid form after the halibut passes. She nodded to Shay, who nodded back and headed back to the freezer. The man placed both of his hands on the counter and folded them. There was something serene in the way that the man sat there, with no inclination to glance around and inspect the cafe he was in, no nervous movement in his legs, no strange expression on his face to express that he was waiting for something to happen. He looked so calm that Maddie almost didn't want to disturb him, but she chaffed at the idea that only squeaky wheels were deserved of greasing. Some wheels were just too polite to ask. Do you want a drink while you're waiting on that? I don't need a drink, said the man. Alright, said Maddie, picking up a whiskey bottle and placing it in his field of view, a reminder of what he was free to ask for. The man squinted. Is that Jack Daniels? It is indeed. The man's shoulders rose a bit in what looked like a barely chuckle. Got a fondness for that particular drink. It's just that we share the same name, said the man. I'm Jack Daniel. No relation to the distiller. I had several friends who took it upon themselves to check. As you might imagine, I have seen a lot of these bottles over the years. It's the kind of gift that people enjoy giving you when you have a name like that. Is it a gift that you enjoyed receiving? It's always a pleasure to receive a gift, said Jack. It's nice to know that you have friends who care about you and think about you. Is it a gift that you enjoyed consuming? I had a shelf in my flat where I collected them, waiting for other people to come so I'd have an excuse to open them. Ah, said Maddie, picking up the bottle and placing it below the counter. Sorry if I brought up a bad memory. He laughed. Where's the bad memory? They're good to receive from friends and good to share with friends. It's a reminder of the people who I was close to and the things I did with them. No need to apologize for that. Maddie smiled. She was beginning to find that she liked Jack, and it seemed like Jack was the kind of person who liked her. And if for no other reason than that he liked people and Maddie was people, she chuckled with him, and she enjoyed the chuckle so much that she almost missed Jack's momentary sideways glance, an unguarded moment when his mind seemed to be on something other than what he was talking about. It was only an instant, but it was a flicker of pain that she'd learned to recognize over the years. There was something in him that was hurting, even as he remembered his friends. A sense of loss? A regret about something left unsaid? Maddie wasn't sure. Whatever it was none of her business. But she wanted it to be her business. Well, anything you want, just ask, said Maddie. Cup of water, warm glass of milk? Warm glass of milk? How old do you think I am? 5 or 6, just the right age to drink a tall glass of milk before being shooed off to bed at 8 o'clock in the evening. I'm just barely older. But if I do want that glass of milk, I guess I know who to ask. Oh, is that it? I really wish there was an indication when this thing ends. Other than clicking does nothing. That was interesting. Wait, that's not what was outside before. I'm sorry? Where are we? That is 100% not what was outside before. Wait, is that the menu off in the distance? Interesting. What other memories are there? Not really much to look at. Guess we shall continue then. Oh, this is interesting. Oh wait, there's a second floor. Sorry, I have to investigate. Oh no! I'm being blocked by its sign. Alas. What? Keep the balance. Oh wait, if I hold this button... Oh, there's stuff outside. But I can't go outside. Oh. Thinking about alchemy the wrong way. Huh. There's more. I'm just going to do this one more, then we'll continue with the story. Because god, it's a lot of reading. Highlighted passages from Thinking About Alchemy the Wrong Way by Sophie Cordova. Most study of alchemy throughout history can be categorized as practical alchemy, that is, alchemy which aims to understand the world only as well as needed to fulfill certain utilitarian ends, and philosophical alchemy, that is, alchemy which aims to come to a more complete understanding of the world as it is, without prejudice for which portions of alchemical understanding can be wielded to utilitarian ends. In the modern alchemy movement, there has been a tendency within literature to place a greater emphasis on alchemy, based on the premise that coming to a more complete and correct understanding of the universe is the best way for us to discover new practical methods for the physical use of alchemy. Much of this is based on the modern scientific movement in the post-Enlightenment era. Much like our understanding of theoretical physics gives us more accurate models of physical reality which have real applications in engineering, having a better understanding of alchemy on a philosophical level informs our practice of alchemy. However, it may be that this focus on alchemy, which places an emphasis on being correct rather than useful, has thrown out the baby with the bathwater. Admittedly, my position here is hardly biased. The fact that practical studies of alchemy have largely been chased underground is the reason that the tome you're reading is self-published rather than distributed through more official channels. For example, underappreciated in the development of modern alchemical practices the use of a 5-element model. Early pre-Aristotelian alchemical models were based on an understanding of 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Later Aristotelian alchemical models separated elements into 4 categories: earth, water, air, and fire. Oh, they got rid of metal. While this model may be more accurate and reflect an evolution of our understanding of alchemy, it seems to sacrifice the more practical separation of elements in a way that better allows us to understand less tangible things. While wood is not an element strictly speaking, it helps for us to think of it as such. After all, juxtaposing wood against elements such as metal and fire make it apparent that wood possesses certain soul-like qualities that other elements lack, which might prompt us to question what it is about wood that seems to make it behave like a super-element with practical use beyond the conventional. There is a great irony in the fact that while these kinds of questions eventually led us to discard the 5-element model, the new model no longer allows for the existence in this sort of question to exist in academic literature. This book serves as my guide to asking the wrong questions to arrive at the wrong answers that nonetheless seem to work. It is a book for troublemakers and rule breakers indeed. The fact that you hold this book in your hand right now is probably evidence that you have broken several rules to acquire it. That, or you are a rule enforcer tasked with destroying my work, who for some reason has decided to take the time to read it. Perhaps you are reading my work in search of identifying information which might lead you to my location, or you are reading to gain a better understanding of someone whom you consider to be an enemy. Perhaps after reading my work you will realize that my ideas are not as dangerous as you've been to believe, or perhaps you'll realize that they're exactly as dangerous as you've been told. Interesting. Well, let's continue. Yep. I don't think this game has like any branching paths or stuff. It seems to actually just be a kinetic novel. Man, I'd love to see that. I could use a pick-me-up. I can't promise it'll be there. It's kind of inconsistent. Still though, a hallway that's only there sometimes? How do you get to the kitchen otherwise? There's another, slightly longer one that we use instead. It's much less exciting, but on the upside it's consistently there. I love telling new people about it though. The reaction's always hilarious. I definitely didn't expect to be getting enthusiastic today over a weird quantum hallway. People start getting nervous about magic, they usually start trying to explain it using science terms to reassure themselves. Or enthusiastic at all, actually, because as soon as I stop to think about it, I realize I'm actually extremely messed up about this. I understand. Your life has gotten very weird very fast, conceptually speaking. Or, your unlife? I should be better at talking about this by now, shouldn't I? Ah, geez, that's not a fun one to think about, huh? It's just keep talking about the hallway so I can keep my mind off this. To be honest, I'm not sure I could even properly explain a lot of what goes on here. The building's mildly sentient, too much magic and soul for it to not be, really. So the cafe's alive? Not necessarily. Plenty of things have come to life here, but as far as we can tell, the building itself doesn't really fall into that category. Also, it mostly tends to shift itself in ways that are helpful instead of frustrating, so... Quantum hallways. I'm making myself a cuppa. You want something? Oh, hold on. Let me... Australian vernacular for cup of tea. An important cultural institution, especially when drunk in the afternoon. Interesting. Nah, I'm good for now. Also, what's the barista's name? I didn't actually catch it, and I feel like a jerk. Oh, Maddie. She's donor now. Not just a barista. Still makes coffee, of course, but since she's donor now, she has a lot more to juggle. Why are you asking? Gotcha in a hurry. No, I have a boyfriend. Oh, neat. Had? Oh geez, this is a lot. I can't imagine how he's feeling. Try not to think about it. Okay. Yep, okay. You want that drink now? I think I want something a little more potent than coffee right now, sorry. Don't enable him, Kishan. Shush. I can get you something stronger, mate. Shot of whiskey, perhaps. A neat bourbon will always be the perfect mix of classy yet pretentious. Sure? I thought this was a cafe. Why did... Twitch. I swear. I guess. Can't believe Twitch banned, like, auto-modded the word. Stupid Twitch. I thought this was a cafe. Well, it is. Mostly. We do serve alcohol, though. And stronger things on request. Stronger? Like what? Baijiu. What the heck is Baijiu? God, I'm going to have so many tabs open by the end of this just for looking up words from this game. Baijiu, also known as Xiaojiu, is a Chinese colorless liquor typically coming in between 35 to 60% alcohol by volume. That sounds lethal! And I was right, it was Chinese. Absinthe? Pure ethanol? You think a place like this wouldn't have anything stronger than that? Stronger than pure ethanol? Sure. Remind me later, and I might pull out some of my special reserve. Don't enable him, Kishan. Hey, someone's gotta drink it. I know you're not going to touch the stuff aside from setting it on fire. Excuse me, I have perfectly good reason for wanting to set a puddle of distilled soul on fire. We'll agree to disagree on that one. So, Kishan, what'll it be? Actually, I changed my mind on the coffee. Can I order something complex? Gotta treat myself on my last day on Earth. I'm after a sugar rush. If we have the ingredients, it shouldn't be an issue. Maddie can whip it up for you. Cool, cool. In that case, can I have a large quadruple shot, double vanilla caramel, no foam, super hot, reverse, coconut milk macchiato? Oh my god. With 2 sugars and whipped cream on top. Maddie? Yes, dearest? Can you, I don't quite know how... Is this real? Is it too much? I was going to ask for that shot of whiskey Che mentioned earlier, but it seemed a little extra. Well... Yes. It is too much. I don't think even Starbucks would serve that. Oh, they just name-dropped them. That's fine. OBS? Stop it. Bad. Why is my network failing? I think it's because I have my mail program running right now. Let me just close it, because it's probably syncing and killing everything. Someone has to remind me to turn that back on before I finish streaming, because it's my reminder service for everything I need to do. Why? Because it's a hecta quarter, man. Dang. Every single word that increased my urge to set espresso machine on fire, so I wouldn't have to think about making coffee ever again. Maddie has all the classic symptoms of being a pyromaniac, but she's definitely not a pyromaniac. Oh, but the whiskey's fine. I do that too. I have a counter offer, which you have to accept. Yeah? I'll make you another double shot long black, and I'll put whiskey in it. But I won't call you hipster this time. If you decline my offer, on God, I will strip your soul from your body and use it to scrub the counters at closing time. They will smell delicious afterwards, if that's any consolation. Yikes. That does sound like a competitive counteroffer. Not the soul thing. I'll take the coffee. My generosity knows no bounds. She's very tired. Normie? So to conclude, that order sucked because it defies the laws of physics, has a heart attack's worth of sugar in it, and is something only those people ask for. Is it possible to die twice? I'm just going to assume it's an everyone being like, yep. You can die twice if you're brought back from the dead. Or if you manage to really annoy someone between here and the next place. Which is more likely because resurrection is illegal. Reserved for emergencies, and the Council has very particular definitions about what constitutes an emergency. Many centuries pass without a single qualified emergency. But if you're asking whether you can get a heart attack or whatever, the answer is no. Life and death have a slightly different meaning here. You can't die from natural causes. It's a bit complex and weird, and we're still in the process of figuring out how it all works. I'm over 200 years old, and I still haven't made proper sense of it yet. Just got some vague ideas. Right. So, what's keeping me from just staying here? Like, I'm already dead. Why do I have to go to the next place? You've got a certain number of hours you're allowed to remain on the edge of the mortal realm. Hours are fungible. Fungible? They can be bought, sold, and exchanged, generally speaking. But the Council of Death always collects on debts owed to them, so you'll start running up a debt if you stay here too long. Your soul starts to get itchy too. Is there any feelings less pleasant than an itch you can't scratch? Probably, but it's still up there. Yeah. It's not something you want to experience. We've had a few stay past her a lot of time. They've gotten very uncomfortable very fast. It starts with general irritability, and then worse things begin to happen. It's a weird thing to wrap your head around. How long do I have before I need to make myself scarce? You get 24 hours. Any longer and we have to pick up the tab since you're on our premises. The terminal is a place where borrowed time has very literal meaning. And as charming as you are, we've already racked up too much time debt from letting people stick around past their expiry date. We're deep enough into hole as it is hours-wise. And cash-wise, we're extremely poor. We've been a bit too lenient in the past, letting people stay just a little longer instead of gently shooing them onto the next plane of existence, etc. You know the drill. But hey, since hours are fungible, you can always acquire them some other way. There's something happening tonight, actually, that you might be interested in. Seriously? You're still doing that? Shush. You know the council doesn't look on that stuff favorably. Ned said so himself. It draws customers and helps us shave down the debt. I'll take whatever I can get, and hey, screw Ned. We have a 13-year-old right here, you know. She's hard enough coarse language for a lifetime. I'm not too worried about her. I bet she's heard enough coarse language for a lifetime. She's right, though. What? Every time Ned comes around, he makes you guys really stressed out. Ashley's at the age where she's learned to recognize when other people are stressed, but not experienced enough to fully understand what it feels like. Maybe not you as much, but Maddie gets nervous and it brings down the mood, man. So screw Ned. Goodness, I think you've had too much coffee today. I'm crashing so hard right now, you have no idea. It's like I was crashing earlier, but that was just a pre-crash, and I'm having a double crash or something. All I ask is that you try and keep the swearing to a minimum when customers are around. Okay. Does Keyshawn count? It's fine. A couple of my housemates are tradies, so you learn to ignore it pretty quick. Great way to save money and rent and never get lonely if you're not attached to the idea of personal space. Are tradies? Were tradies? They're still tradies unless they changed career in the last couple of days, but they're not my roommates anymore because... Hey mates, have I mentioned how much being dead sucks? Cause it sucks and I feel extremely bad about it. I'm having a pretty bad time right now in general, to be honest. Yep. Even just adapting your language is a pain, isn't it? Want the proper drink now, without coffee in it. Yeah, that'd be good. The TV didn't say anything about there being a storm tonight. Melbourne storm. Noun. A somewhat unusual weather phenomenon known for being the only one of its kind to occur below the Barras Sea line. What the heck is a Barras Sea line? Oh my god. Is an imaginary line in Australia which approximately divides areas where Australia rules football is the most popular football what? Those where rugby league and rugby unions. I don't understand. I guess it's a football thing. Huh. Looks like a decent-sized one's rolling in. Melbourne weather strikes again. I'll go upstairs and close the windows. Cheers. Come on, Ashley. Let's clean up the workbench while we're up there, yeah? Do you need a bribe? Yes. I have some chocolate hidden away. Acceptable. I do think the dude's cute. I meant to voice that a lot earlier, but yeah. Wait, dead people can still get drunk, yeah? Why else do you think we serve alcohol? To make money? Well, yeah. Hang on, do I even have my wallet? Doubt it. I don't. Yeah, how does that work? Why do I have my clothes, but not the contents in my pockets? Oh, hold on. Thank goodness. Good place for things that don't have a place. Chewing gum, spare change, nervous hands. I don't know, dude. Everyone's experience is a little different. This doesn't follow many rules. Only universal rule I can think of is that you can't stay. People don't generally come in without their clothes, fortunately. So about this drink, I guess you're going to give me straight vodka or something? Why's that? You don't like making complex drinks. Haha, dude, no. I don't like making ridiculous caffeine-laced milkshakes for overcompensating soccer dads. I'm happy to mix a cocktail within reason. Oh, okay. What you've got then? Chase got everything you can think of, and then some. I could go for a mint julep. Hey, what's that outside? Outside? Some guy out in the rain? Ah, heck. Maddie? Maddie, what's up? Let's get started on that drink. Kian? Morning. Hi? Oh, just talking about being dead mostly. Apparently time is a commodity. Things like that. Mysterious dude showed up. No idea who he is. Hello, recently departed. Hey, that hat you're wearing kinda makes you look like... Ned Kelly? I could have sworn you were standing outside literally a second ago. So, how did this one clock it? Good morning to you too, Ned. It's 7 o'clock in the morning, Madeline. It's off, Nedward. That's not even my full name. Isn't it, Maddie? Che said it was, and he never lies. He never said that. Well, no, but it was worth a try. A try at what? Catching me off balance? Some nonsense along those lines. Mate, I'm so off balance right now that a light breeze would knock me head over. Don't push me. Hey, this mint julep is great. Just wanted to contribute to that conversation. So, you catch the game last night? The Australian Football League provides everyone with a chance to root for your favorite local team, unless you're Tasmanian. Oh. Don't know what that means, probably an Australian joke. No, and I do not care to discuss the export with you or anyone else. Don't try it. Oof. Just making polite conversation. You should try it sometime. Maybe. Not for you, though. You never come in during daylight hours before. What do you want? Nothing much. I'd like to talk to Che at some point, but it can wait. Seeing as he's missing? Planning on sending out a search party? Might do. It'd be a shame to lose an old friend by letting him wander onto some train tracks or something. Yeah, well, shut up. He's upstairs the last I saw. What was the last you saw, Maddie? Tell me. Why are you like this? What was it? Last saw him walking upstairs. So he could be anywhere then. Probably fled the country to dodge the massive time debt you lot are racking up. Some obligations have a way of following you no matter where you run to. He can't go far. I've got him on a pretty tight leash. In regards to the debt... Aha. It's not your problem. You must not have heard. Not your problem. Che! Your nonsense friend Ned is here. Oi. I'm a distinguished gent. Not a nonsense. I'll be down in a sec. Yeah, sure, but you also work for the Council of Death, so even if you are a distinguished gent, it cancels out. Is the Council of Death like a normal city council, except for wherever dead people live? Yeah, but the only trash that needs to be collected is right in front of me. This guy? Me? No, you. You're the trash, Ned. The trash is you. It's you. Ned, the trash man from hell. Because councils pick up trash. That's the joke. Oh, cool. He's even got a head shaped like a rubbish bin. It's totally fitting. I'm not from hell. I don't care. To be clear, Ned, in case we weren't already, you are the trash. Yeah, I get it. You know how long Che's going to be? Don't know. He was very busy upstairs with Ashley. Yeah, I had to hide like 5 steak knives from her. I don't even know we had 5 snake knives. Well, now we know where all the knives went. Get quiet there, mate. How long have you been sitting there? Does it matter? Well, your employee is being very rude to me, so if you'd heard any of that... I keep trying to tell him. Ah, my employee, yes. We have some catching up to do. I don't follow. Did she quit? Maddie's not one to back away from a challenge, but if she did, she wouldn't be the first. Did you fire her for gross incompetence? Ha, far from it. There's been a bit of shake-up in the cafe's management structure since you last visited. Oh no. Don't tell me you gave her the whole thing. Okay, I won't tell you. I tried to tell you before, man. Hey, does anyone else like mint juleps? I love this dude. I don't know what a mint julep is, and I don't drink, but he's great. Because this is great, and I'm nearly done, but also my tongue is numb, and I'm wondering what the deal is with that. Was there something you want to discuss? I need a drink before we go through all that. Sure. The usual? Yes, please. How come he gets a curly straw? Mint julep is a mixed alcoholic drink or cocktail consisting primarily of bourbon, sugar, water, crushed or shaved ice, and fresh mint. Interesting. Huh. Yeah, I'm not an alcohol person. Rappy, you can enjoy. So, Che, spin me a tale of how and why you handed down the cafe. Oh, so Che, spin me a tale of how and why you handed down the cafe to this person. Well, every man's got his price. Can my price be a curly straw too? Buddy, I'll give you 2 if it means you'll stop complaining about numb lips. Yeah, what did you make this with? I couldn't find half the ingredients, so I put in a bunch of baitio and, chili seeds? Where did you get those? No, that's not a question. How did you run out of bourbon, which you said you already had, sugar, water, ice? Okay, you can be missing the mint. But how did you not have the... Madam? Madam? How did you even... How? It's got some of the stuff though, so it's a mint julep in spirit, if nothing else. Does that have any mint or julep in it at all? It definitely may be lacking mint, and I cannot confirm or deny the existence of the mythical julep. To some people, this place seems otherworldly. For others, this is just the world they live in. You asked for baijiu earlier, so there you go. Mission complete. Maddie, I'm getting very drunk very fast. Baijiu will do that to ya. Here, I think you should have a little lie down. I'll get you some water. I'm as strong as an ox. I don't need no lie down. Kishan, my dude, you absolutely need to get horizontal as soon as possible. We can sober up in one of the booths up the back. It's nice and quiet over there. I'll fight ya. I'll win, though. Up you get, mate. Bloody hell. It would have been helpful if you'd told me about this before. Probably. I'm not worried about it. Maddie knew what she was getting into with this whole cafe situation, and it's natural that it might take a while for her to get the hang of running a business. Bloody hell. Bit of a dog's diner though, isn't it? Oh god, what accent is this? Ned would know. Wait, what did I... Sure. Oh, for sure. But it'll get better. Like I said, not worried about it. Well, you might want to hold your judgment on that for a moment. I'm unfortunately here on official business. Oh. Shouldn't have given you the straw then. No, you shouldn't have. I look quite silly. Want me to get rid of it? It's just Maddie. She won't use it to derail our conversation or make me look like a fool or anything like that. Straw? No, I'll get you one after you have a nap. You can sip the water like a normal person. I'll put it with the dirty dishes then. Boom! That was fancy. I don't know who's talking. Just the sacrifices I make for this job. Hey, you met me through it. So I couldn't have been all bad. That was a bloody 100 years ago. Man, really? Longer. Time flies when you're immortal, huh? Quasi-immortal. This whole rust bucket's still got an expiry date somewhere down the line. Time comes for us all. What's this about immortality? Hey, you should buy more plants. Shut up. Sorry, continue. Immortality. Nothing that I'd trust you with, that's for sure. Aw, don't you want to see crotchety old me being rude to youngsters in 100 years? Truly, I do not. And the far future doesn't need amateur necromancers. Amateur can describe someone who's not good enough to turn pro, but it could also mean someone who's passionately engages in something just for the pure love of it. Your loss. So, you two heading upstairs? Actually, Ned does in fact have something fairly important to discuss with you. Oh? It's about the debt you owe. To the council? Yeah, I know. What about it? Maddie, it's time. You owe us over 600 hours. Shay signed a contract. The hours or the cafe. You own the cafe, so you own the debt. And tonight, I've come to collect.
I gave it all away.
Oh heck.
And now has come the day. There's nothing left to give. I waited here so long. I listened for your song. And fell right through what you said. There's nothing left to give. Nothing left to give. There's nothing left to give.
I hope this isn't copyrighted. Who are these people? Yes! I am very much loving this. Is this going to do a whole genre switch on me? Necrobarista. It is cool. Also, Twitch isn't yelling at me, so I think we're good. I guess this is the intro. I was processing a thought earlier. What was it? Oh, right. I didn't actually finish reading Routby's messages. I see, I see. Yeah, no. I just tried to avoid the stuff, period. Ah, intermission. That was kind of intense. Do they do that often? The song and dance thing. Yeah, what do they think they are? Some sort of anime street gang? What sort of self-obsessed jerk has their own theme song? Don't be a downer, pal. No, I was talking about the dramatic encounter. Oh, between Maddie and Ned. Yes. Also, welcome back from the store. Did you get the chalky milk? Oh! Yeah, they've got chemistry. Not the romantic kind, the explosive kind. Can't leave them in the same room together or they'll kill each other. Bad history. Maddie's just a seriously troublesome person from Ned's perspective. Aw. We'll share with the class. You can't just bring chocolate up and not share. Oh. Doesn't help that she can't stop herself from pulling pranks on him. No. I suppose not. I mean, he doesn't make it easy, either. I don't think he's used to having his authority questioned. She really gets under his skin. Wasn't he a famous criminal? And therein lies the irony of the situation. What a strange world we live in. You're not trying hard enough, Ultimate. Gotta try harder. Oh, woo. And also, it's okay for you to since. I mean, I'm a digital wolf. I don't have to follow my organic specifications. Oh. Doodle mode is now available. You can also speak to Ashley to access doodle mode. Doodle mode? Oh, let's locate Ashley. It's Stu Doodle. Let's find the doodle. Doodles. Billiards to Fisherman Part 2. Ooh, let's get to that. Delicate Operation. Advisory Role. Maddie's Inbox. Keep the balance. Wait, how do I get down? How do I get down? She's over there. What? Ramp's like, you can talk to Ashley, and I'm like, how do I get to Ashley? What? No. How? Let me in. Come on in. Okay, so actually, before we continue and look at any of the memories or whatnot, I am going to step away, for maybe like 10 minutes. So I'll be right back. I am going to be running some ads, but you can take this opportunity to get yourself a snack, a drink, stretch. I do a drinky. Thank you so much, Tiana. Do yourself some self-care, and I will be back in, hopefully, 10 or less minutes. That's debatable, though. Don't actually know how long it'll take. So good news, it was less than 10 minutes. Oh. Now we can... Oh, it's been... 10... 8. 8. Okay, why are the frames dropping? Bad? Bad OBS. Don't get why frames are doing the die. Oh well. It's not like super bad. But I do want to go back down there. Let me... You're overdue this week, said Ned. He tapped the list of rules that Maddie kept posting by the door. This 24-hour rule, are you sure you've been enforcing it? I think how we run this business around here is none of your business, said Maddie. Actually, it absolutely is my business, said Ned. In fact, keeping rules is basically my only business. That's kind of what the word enforcer means. I'm supposed to scold you for breaking the rules. So audit me. Fine, said Ned. Let me check your ledger. We don't keep a ledger, said Maddie. Maybe you should. Lots of places do. It's a great system. You have someone stand at the door and have them mark down whenever someone comes in or leaves. Then you forcibly evict people who are overstaying their welcome. I'm amazed that you didn't have a system like that in place. Some people overstay their welcome, other people understay it, said Shay. There's no need to strictly keep track of how long people stay, right? Just maintain the balance. You're right, all that matters is maintaining the balance. So maintaining the balance, because when you don't, then we have a problem. We're a bit short-staffed to have someone acting as a full-time doorman, said Maddie. Figure it out, said Ned. He tapped the board listening to rules. Change 24 hours to 23. When you say 24 hours, people think they just coldly mean one day. They don't pay attention to the specific time. When you say 23 hours, people actually have to keep track of what time it is. That'll be fine, said Shay, except for the part where you're cutting at time of people's stay. Trust me, said Ned. Anyone who would go right up to the limit is probably going to go over it. 23 hours is going to mean 23 hours plus an extra 5 minutes. 10 minutes, half hour plus however long it takes to finish their drink. If they leave in less than 24 hours, who gives a heck? I give a heck. You're right. You should give a heck, said Ned. In fact, you should celebrate whenever you manage to scoot someone out of here in under 24 hours, because the balance is upset and you've got to correct it. You can either correct the balance 1 hour at a time, or the council can come in here and repurpose some souls. Or we can find someone who knows how to manage this property responsibly. He turned to Shay. Come on, buddy. I don't want to have to take this place away from you. That'd be quite the escalation, said Maddie. Well, you're already on the first level of escalation when she's a stern talking to, said Ned. Let's try not to escalate it any further. Shay sighed. Well, Maddie cut him off. I'll change the rule to 23 hours, okay? Buzz off. Wow, really? Said Ned. Well, okay then. While you're rewriting the signs, you should make the green tea frappuccino off the menu. Perhaps should be coffee, not tea. Done, said Maddie. Wait, really? Said Ned. Heck, I didn't realize you were so open to feedback. Also that camera? We'll take it under advisement, said Maddie, placing a hand on Ned's chest and physically pushing him towards the door. Hold up, Ned. What are you doing? Removing an unwanted guest, said Maddie. I need to practice if we're going to start enforcing those rules you care so much about. Now said Ned as he continued backpedaling to stay upright. Look, you could just bye, said Maddie as Ned crossed the threshold out of the cafe, and Maddie shut the door in his face. She turned around, leaning her back against the door and sighed. She raised an eyebrow. You're serious about this rule change? Yeah, said Maddie. I'll change the sign in the menu after we close tonight. Wait, really? The rule change is just to keep him off our back, said Maddie. And the menu thing? I've been meaning to take that off anyway, said Maddie. It's the kind of menu item that attracts the worst sort of people. Well, okay, said Shay. But I do think we should change the rule back to 24 hours after things have had enough time to balance out. Of course. Wouldn't want to upset the balance too far in the opposite direction. What would we do with all that extra time anyways? Makes sense. I love how only one part of this... Actually, it's all the punctuation that's static. There's a singular Y floating around. Hilarious. I want to go back down there. Let me down. Actually, wait, am I, like, legit stuck? Because continue is over there. Do I... On door? Wait. Am I forced to see everything up here? Like, hello? Oh, this is open now. Okay. Doodle mode. What does doodle mode do? Okay, so reading that sign did open it up. But let's see what doodle mode is. This might take longer than 4 hours if I get distracted enough. You can draw a face for each ashling. Whenever an ashling appears throughout the game, you'll get to see your artistic masterpiece. Ooh. Let's... Okay, so when I think of the name Kepler, I think of this cat. I wonder if it'll let me use my drawing tablet. Oh, heck yeah. Little janky. Oh, I don't remember the patterns on. I think he has a like black spot here. I think the rest of his face is white. And then white. And meow. I like him. No, don't exit. How do I... I'm gonna save. Back? Oh, it's save and exit doodle mode for that. And then... Ooh, what do I put on you? Any suggestions? What do we put on Lovelace? Yeah, what to put on it? In the meantime, I'll just doodle. Actually, no, wait. You're drawing. Where does it go again? Wooden guard tower. Interesting. Let's do... Oh yeah, sure. Just fill the roof in. It'll be for the best. No. Wish there was an undo button. No. Then... Ooh. And well, let's be extra. Let's have a satellite on it. There we go. Got a house. Here. And then Jacoby. Jacoby's a math thing. I forget what it was supposed to be. Any suggestions? While I doodle. Write down, throw me into the yellow bin. Ah, interesting. Throw me into yellow bin. There we go. Look at them. Lovely. Yeah. Hello. How you doing? Well, come on in. I just did doodle mode. What am I doing back here? Would you be interested in streaming Toontown Corporate Clash? Maybe not anytime soon, but I've never actually played Toontown, so I know nothing about it. Even back when it was like super popular. Ooh. I kinda do have most things planned since next month is October. And I'm trying to make sure things line up correctly. But I am not against it, mostly because was it you who was it y'all who suggested como se dice Unsighted? Yeah, y'all suggested Unsighted, and then I didn't play it because it gave me anxiety. Whoops. I know I can turn off the timer, but it just feels wrong. But what I did play of it was really fun. I have to watch someone else play it though. Look at operation. Isn't that? No, this is advisory role. Let me. What words were I going to use? I was going to use some words. Sentences. Sentences. There was a sentence somewhere. We can walk you through it. 3 makes corporate clashes plus your heart. So we can walk you through it. Ah, okay. Yeah. Since I do kind of have the rest of this month and October planned, if you still want me to play it after October, please, like, ping me. I am not good at remembering things. Yeah. But I've actually, I already said that. It'll be neat to try it. Cause I, was a Club Penguin person very briefly. I didn't really play on it too much because I was really bad with net games. Like, really bad with them. I would forget they exist. So I could never keep a, oh, what were they called? Puffle? Fluffles? Furples? Puzzles? Whatever they were. I could never keep on to them because they'd always get sad and leave me. Because I don't log in enough. This is exactly why I can't own a Puffles! There we go. This is also exactly why I don't have a Neopatch. I think I did start a Neopatch. I think. Don't know what happened to it. Probably my account got purged by now. I don't even know what I would have used to log in with it. Oh well. Wow, there is a lot of memories. And I don't really feel like going through all of them. Let's do just a few. The expression on Jack's face was... Hold on. Back. Okay, there you go. No, frames. Bad. Stop that. Bad. Baps you. Good. The expression on Jack's face was expectant when Maddie came out of the kitchen carrying his plate. Expectant, but not impatient. Oh, as a reminder, there was a fisherman named Jack, and he came in. Expectant, but not impatient. The expression fit his posture, sitting upright with hands folded and resting in front of him. Your halibut's ready. Jake's eyebrows raised when Maddie set the plate down in front of him. He closed his eyes and leaned and lowered his chin just a tad, allowing the scent of grilled fish to waft into his nostrils as he drank in the odor. As several moments passed, a smile crawled onto his face, and he grabbed a big fork and began cutting the halibut up. He was several mouthfuls in when Maddie spoke up. I thought you said you weren't going to eat it, she said. Couldn't help myself, said Jack. Smelled too good not to give it a taste, and tasted too good to stop. Couldn't help but notice the hesitation, said Maddie. Jack held up the fork, which had a piece of fish speared on it. You know, a fish like this, you never know what kind of memories it's going to bring up. Not all memories are good, but this fish, it tastes like adventure, conquest. You fish much? You could say that, said Jack with a grin. I made it out on the water several days each year. Catch any big ones? Lots, I'm sure, said Jack. But I'm more of a quantity over size kind of person. The most important weight is your tally at the end of the day. I'm not the patient kind of fisherman. Where'd you learn to be so patient, if not from fishing? Fishing's the only thing I'm not a patient. It's the only time I'm not a patient man. Funny, said Maddie. I tend to hear the opposite from a lot of people. I take really long vacations, said Jack. That's when you fish. That's when I don't fish, said Jack. Ah, you're a fisherman. Fish tradesman. Better known as a fisherman, said Jack. But yeah. You could have led with that, you know, said Maddie. Didn't I? Said Jack. Well, like I said, I don't go out on the water very often. And yet it's your profession, said Maddie. I think you would mean more days on the water. Such is life in Alaska, he said. Fishing season gets shorter every year. Aren't we in Australia? Ah, of course. Halibut are seasonal. Gonna catch them when they migrate, is that it? It's the kind of business that only opens a few days out of the year, which thanks to Mother Nature? Thanks to the government, said Jack. In 1970, halibut season was 150 days long. Then it got shortened to 100 days. You only get 100 days out of the year? No, ma'am, said Jack. 100-day halibut season was before my time. By the time I found myself on the side of the Pacific, they were down to fishing derbies. Actually, that's what got me out there. Derbies. All the fish you can catch for 24 hours. They're spaced out. Fishing season is just a few days a year now. Can you make a living doing that? You can catch a lot of fish in one day, said Jack. That's why they had to shorten the season. It doesn't take very many skiffs on the water before you have a problem with overfishing. I was sold on the promise of working for several days out of the year and being able to come back home and live the good life the 360 days out of the year. That I didn't have to work. He grinned in a way that suggested he wanted Maddie to prompt further. Did Alaska deliver on that promise? Said Maddie. Is America truly a land where the streets are paved with gold? The streets aren't paved with gold, even though I'm told there's black gold to be found in Alaska. But yes, Alaska did deliver what was promised. I worked several derbies a year and made enough to live pretty well. I just skipped the part where I was supposed to come back home. What's the matter? Said Maddie. Didn't want to sail back to Australia? Afraid of getting seasick? No, ma'am, said Jack, apparently missing her joke. You met someone who convinced you to stay? A few someone, said Jack. You spent some time working a skiff with someone that's the kind of bond you don't find easily, and it's not the kind of thing you give up easily. The kind of bond working only a few days out of the year, said Maddie. It's intense, said Jack. It's like being in the line of duty. It's a little like going to war. War against the fishes. War against the sea, said Jack. When it's all you can catch for 24 hours, you don't have time to be safe. When the day arrives, you're out on the water, no matter the weather. And those skiffs are not large boats. For every 1,000 fishermen that go out, 997 come back. Firefighters have better odds than that. Soldiers have better odds than that. So yes, it's a bit like going to war. He looked down at the fish in front of him for a moment. There was something I could swear I could smell death in the water. And every time you pulled up to shore with a boat full of fishes and was the same number of men you left with, it was a giant middle finger to Death's face. He broke into a grin. In those moments, you never felt more at home. And when you have that kind of experience with someone, you don't heck off to spend the year in Australia, you know? He tapped his chest. I'm one of them now. Jack looked around, and Maddie realized it was the first moment she'd seen Jack really take notice of the space he was in. His eyes squinted as they scanned the shelves behind him and the people at the tables around him. But I ended up here, and I think I always knew I would be here sooner or later. Well, that's the end of that story. Well, at least this part of the story. I think I'm just going to go straight into the next part, because I don't know how much side content my voice can handle. I never joined the stupid call. I realize. Aw. Blue Knight joined. Neato. Where was I? Oh yeah, let's continue. And now my little duder's there. Awesome. I have a reminder that's like, join the Discord call and follow it. Whoops. Yes, let's continue. Bum 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 bum. Day 2, 12 p.m. The terminal. Rise and shine. Don't wanna. You shouldn't waste your last hours on Earth sleeping. Whoever said I'll have plenty of time to sleep when I'm dead probably had a different idea of how things would play out after dead. Man, I was hoping that I was having a really weird dream. Sorry, no such luck. Some more pedantic magical practitioners are quite bothered by flippant and colloquial use of the word luck. Che isn't one of them. I'm still having trouble getting my head around it. I totally understand. Want a coffee? Yeah, just something simple. Hipster coffee coming right up. What's going on downstairs? I didn't even know you had a downstairs. There's more to this place that meets the eye. Maddie's down there desperately trying to fix our debt situation. It sounds like she's hosting a cage match or something. Well, not exactly, but she's mentioned wanting to do that. There's some wrestler called the Red Comet that she wouldn't stop talking about for a while. Huh? And then because of that, Ashley got obsessed with wrestling for a bit and kept trying to suplex me. Ashley's small, so she has to opt for wrestling moves that control the opponent's weight instead of trying to lift them. Makes sense. Did she manage to? She's tiny. A couple of times. Ha. It was very humiliating. I can imagine. But to properly answer your question, Maddie's running a gambling ring. When you find yourself standing on the brink of death, a wager could be a chance of salvation or the last chance to feel danger. Both of these appeal to different types of patrons. Downstairs? All by herself? It's a fairly unconventional one. And by unconventional you mean mortals generally aren't involved. Stakes are higher than usual. Oh. Coffee's ready. Come over and get it. They gamble for time, among other things. You don't sound like you're a huge fan of the idea. I'm not. It's undignified. I mean, as long as Maddie's not in danger, shouldn't it be fine? The council doesn't like it. They turn a blind eye because we don't cause trouble otherwise, but I'd rather not have to worry about bad things coming our way, because Maddie refuses to approach the problem from a different angle. And by the problem you mean the debt, yeah? I was pretty drunk, but I think I remember Maddie storming off after Ned turned up. Yes, I'm a bit worried about her. I wish I could help. You all seem pretty nice. The thought's appreciated. Maddie will figure it out eventually, though, I'm sure. She just needs time. Hey, thanks for the coffee, by the way. I just realized you haven't actually made me pay for a bunch of them. How do you expect to pay for them? Oh, right. Yep, no cash. If I was feeling particularly capricious, I'd ask you to pay in time. But you're a nice kid, and you need every minute you've got. Camera? You want to head downstairs? You can see your eyes darting at the stairs. I'm not going down, but I'm also not going to stop you. Yeah, that's okay. Go on then, I'll stick her around up here. Catch you in a bit. Bum 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 bum. The stairs that led down to the basement were solid and well worn, with smooth ruts on each step and a handrail that had been polished to a silky sheen through years of use. Keyshawn had always liked stairwells. People never lingered in them for long, and he'd found them to be a good place to catch a breather. He wasn't obsessed with them, that'd be weird, but he definitely appreciated a nice set of stairs. On further reflection, it was probably a little weird. Downstairs, Maddie's audience clamored for blood, and the dead find blood sports compelling. From you to me, with the understanding that your remaining moments on this plane are limited, you're surrendered this time freely without coercion, as agreed. Contract fulfilled, you're free to go. Everything comes at a price, nothing risked, nothing gained. Phew. That's 3 in a row, you bloodthirsty bastards. The crowd cheered. Maddie was clearly an expert at winding them up into a frenzy. Who's next? The room fell dead silent. Come on, isn't anyone here brave enough to challenge me? I thought you came here to play with knives, you pansies. Seriously, anyone? Don't hold out on me. Do I need to pick someone out from the crowd, then? Is this what we've come to? Maddie's gaze swept the audience. Kishan, good to see you upright. Interested in a game of skill? Me? Yes, you. Oh, sure. Give me some enthusiasm, man. Sure. What's the game? My finger fillet. Some of the people in here just call it the knife game. You've heard of it? Oh, finally something I'm good at. Gomenasari? Episode 3, Rise and Shine. Wow, he has a look to him. You've got a lot of knives in this place. Tell me about it. Damn, this thing has a good weight to it. Of course, I wouldn't make you compete with an inferior tool. Huh. What? Sorry, I was waiting for you to seg you into calling me an inferior tool. Ah, that was low-hanging fruit, wasn't it? Next time, mate. Sure. Kishan did another experimental slash, and this time it made an audible whoosh. The spectators oohed and awed, but this wasn't for them. He knew that he only had one shot to get accustomed to the blade. You done showing off? Nothing wrong with putting on a little show. Sounds like you're stalling for time. Getting cold feet, perhaps? Psst, not a chance. Let's get started then. You know what you're wagering? Shay mentioned something about you gambling with time. It's not a gambling if it's a game of skill. But that's beside the point. We're both wagering 4 hours. If you win, it comes from the cafe's balance. If I win, it comes from yours. We've got around 16 hours left in case you weren't keeping track. Heck, only that many? Want a little extra time to play with then? Heck yeah. Let's stop wasting it and get this over with. You sure know what you're getting into? Most people are pretty shy about playing with the time they have left, especially when their tank's running as empty as yours. Yep, come on. Unless you're getting cold feet. Haughtily. You've got 30 seconds. Smack the timer when you're ready. Well, have fun, dude. The crowd cheered and Kishan fed off their enthusiasm. In response, Maddie leaned back and tapped her finger on the table, feigning impatience. He met her gaze, grinned, and continued his performance. His stabbing motion got faster as he went to the point, narrowly missing each of his fingers. Stabs, strong enough to drive the knife a millimeter or two into the table, were good if you wanted to put on a show, and of course, giving the spectators a show is part of the fun. You might be going fast enough to put on a show, but you're not going fast enough to win. How'd I do? 16 sets if I counted correctly. Oh. I couldn't do 16. That's how many Maddie beat me with. Is she gonna lose? Nah, she's gonna kick his behind. Feeling good about that result? Certainly am. Rightio then, watch closely. Oh, I will. 16. 1, 3, 7, 11. 15. Told you, she's unbeatable. Is it magic? She could cheat if she wanted to. Definitely not. She's just that good. Poor guy, he didn't know what he was getting into. Sorry, mate. You beat me fair and square. I'm pretty impressed. I aim to please. I'll be taking those hours now if you don't mind. Yeah, sure. How does this work? Just like this. You won't feel a thing. Keyshawn felt a brief tightness in his chest, and for just a moment, the tip of Maddie's finger burned white hot. You can't beat entropy. Anytime you do an energy transfer, there's going to be some amount of energy lost to heat. Ow. Heck. Sorry, I lied. It's done now, though. Alright. Does anyone else dare to compete with me? Come on, looking for some actual decent competition here. I'll take any challenge, even if it's chess or something. Any challenge? I challenge you. To get everyone a drink. Rounds on me. Oh, him upsetty. I didn't realize you were watching. There wasn't anything happening upstairs and I got bored. Right, so you took some hours from Keyshawn, huh? Yes, I did. You feel any good about it? Che, do you? I won them fair and square. You didn't know what he was getting into. There was an obvious power imbalance here that you're exploiting. Che isn't one to let you forget the responsibility that comes with power. He knew the rules. That doesn't change anything. You led him to believe that he'd get some extra time. Maddie knows firsthand how seductive the promised extra time can be. And? Barring a miracle on his part, that absolutely wasn't going to happen. It doesn't matter. He's just passing through. A couple hours wouldn't make any difference. Oh, him Angie. Maddie, I'm disappointed in you. Our patrons respect us. We need to earn that respect by treating them with respect ourselves. This is not respectful or dignified. Cheating vulnerable passers-through out of their time, we're above that. We're better than that. I don't care whether you think it's dishonest or not. I want you to give that poor man his time back. Don't pout. This is serious. I feel like a broken record saying this. But while I understand your intentions are good, you can't keep doing these things. It's all for you. If you really want to do this for me, find another way. This isn't worth it, Maddie. Breaks my heart to see you like this, and I know that you're trying your hardest, but this truly, really truly is not worth sacrificing your own self-respect over. Everyone here respects you, but you gambling with hours just cheapens that. I'll give the hours back. Shame, I was pretty great with the knife. Still not as good as me. I was pretty close. Oh? Bum 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 bum. I like this. He's good. Look at them! Lovelace. Yes. What form did you have before being reborn? I think I was a crab. Come on, being seriously. Ashley wouldn't harvest spirit liquid from a crab. You're assuming an awful lot about how squeamish she is. As far as I can remember, I lived above streets next to the sky. So, a bird then. Wings and feathers and such. No, not that. I do remember flying though. Oh, were you a sugar glider? Describe. Did you eat insects and tree sap and flower nectar? That is familiar. I wonder how Ashley found you then. Could have been anything really. You mentioned bright lights earlier. Oof. Yeah, I'm thinking you got hit by a car. That that seems likely. Is that bad? I mean, you're here now, so... Whether you like it or not. Shut up. I'm still adjusting. Look at him. So, I guess Ashley can make magic robots with spirits. Look at you, turning into a responsible human being. You can now speak to Keyshawn to access studio mode. What does that do? Oh, there's a lot. Billiards. Oh, you can go all the way back. Oh. Wow, there's a lot of side content. I'll definitely have to go through in my own time and just read through all of these. Because there's no way my voice can do all of this. But I think we have to do this one. I guess every time we read a sign, we have to do it. Keyshawn's footstep echoed in a way that startled him. Were his footsteps always so loud? Perhaps it was just the contrast with the surrounding environment, which seemed to completely silent. Completely silent. I don't know. That made his footfalls seem so jarringly loud as he walked along the catwalk. He was on a catwalk. Why was he on a catwalk? There seemed to be gaping space below him, filled with some sort of mist that he couldn't see through. It was fog-like, yet despite the fog that lapped at his feet, the air felt so dry. The air was thick here. As he breathed heavily, Keyshawn felt an overwhelming, sweet, sickly odor like the smell of wet or rotting wood. But all he could see around him was steel beams and a concrete path in front of him. Was it rust he was smelling? No, he knew the smell of rust. This was different. This smell was somehow organic, like the smell of a forest after a fresh rainfall. Keyshawn shivered. Far in the distance he could see what looked like a building of some sort. So far away that it made the structure he was inside feel almost tunnel-like, as if its only purpose was to convey to him the distant building. He continued walking forward, but as he walked, the building seemed to be growing more and more distant. He quickened his pace. As he walked faster, he could feel himself moving through the thick, stifling air. Yet as he looked down, he could see the texture of the catwalk in front of him unchanging, as though he were walking in place. Keyshawn started to turn backwards, but saw only a blinding light. His eyes immediately shut, and when he opened them again, he was again facing into the tunnel, with the distant building at the center of his field of view. He tried turning around, but every time he tried to turn his head, his eyes involuntarily shut at the sight of the light, and he was forced to close his eyes or look away, always confronted again with the sight of the small hut when he opened his eyes. His chest pounded violently inside of his chest. Inside of his head, my bad. Wait, what? Could hear his own feel his... Oh yeah, the tunnel was so quiet that he could hear his own heartbeat, feel his own pulse inside his chest. Something about this place felt deeply, incredibly wrong. Get back, I have to get back. He tried turning again, and this time found himself unable to even begin rotating his body before his eyes snapped shut, placing him again in a world of darkness until he opened them again and was confronted with the sight of the small hut in the distance, now looking more far away than ever. I have to get back. Keyshawn kept facing the building and took a step backwards. As he placed his foot on the ground, he felt a gust of wind knock him forward. He let out a yelp of terror. Instinctively, his hands reached for the opposite edge of the catwalk as he fell, trying to steady himself for fear of falling off. The catwalk was wide enough that his body didn't land close enough to the edge for that to have been a risk. Yet as he looked towards the edge, he felt a growing sense of dread that there was something down there that would capture him if he allowed it to catch even the smallest hold of him. Almost as he thought it, he felt the sensation of something press against his leg. He stumbled to his feet. He ran forward. The head ahead of him seemed to grow no closer as he ran. but he ran all the same, running not to reach a destination, but to be away from whatever it was that was behind him. Moments ago, his only thought was an overwhelming desire to turn back, a worry that he was somehow trapped in here. But now that worry was replaced with an overwhelming sense of dread that propelled him forward. He had been pushed forward by something. Something was behind him. Keyshawn leaned forward and ran. He was no runner. He often found himself winded when forced to climb more than one flight of stairs. Yet he ran, and felt no sense of tiredness holding him back. No need to catch his breath. Maybe it was the thick air here that somehow never allowed him to run out of breath. Maybe it was the fear of whatever was behind him was that strong. Keyshawn felt the air stinging his eyes as he ran. By now he was running so fast that the thick air felt like a hot wind in his face. Tears began running down his face, but he couldn't find it in him to raise a hand by his eyes. That would mean slowing his sprint. So he closed his eyes, fully aware that he was running down a catwalk that had no handrails on either side. At this point he didn't care. He ran and ran. Long after the tears on his face had dried, Keyshawn realized that he could hear only the sound of his own feet as they struck the catwalk. He couldn't even hear the rush of wind, even as it seemed to buffet his face. There were no sounds of anyone or anything pursuing him. Perhaps there was no pursuer at all. He allowed himself to open his eyes and look down. He looked over his shoulder. This time there was no blinding light, only a distant glow like the light at the end of a tunnel. In a way, it was the light at the end of a long tunnel, and in observing the dim glow of the distant light, Keyshawn suddenly realized just how far he had ran. He turned around and saw the building right in front of him. It had windows that were covered with the same fog that covered the ground around him. Keyshawn reached for the door handle. He half expected it to be locked, and felt a moment of panic as the handle bowed under the pressure of his hand. Was he ready to face whatever was on the other side of the door? Did he even want to enter? Did he have a choice? What was it that awaited him inside of this building? Answers or more baffling questions? Keyshawn looked down the tunnel and suddenly felt cold. Whatever this place was, he needed to escape it, and the only form of egress that seemed available to him was the door of this building. He leaned on the handle, felt the door swing open. Oh? That was a lot of reading. Wandering spirit. Rotten poppy. Oh, there's the Fisherman Part 3. I don't think my voice can survive that. Cellar staff only. Let me in. Let me in. I think, thanks to how much reading I had to do, I might have to end early. But let's see studio mode. Yeah, what's studio mode? Please wait. It's not like I have an option. Oh. The heck? Aw. Oh, we don't know these people yet. Spoilers game. Ooh. Is this how how do I move the camera? Position. Left at the scroll wheel doesn't work. I guess this is the tooling they used to make the shots. Where'd he go? Why is there just an orb? Where did that orb come from? Lights, props, captions. Wow, this is advanced. For once, silence. If only it could last. Interesting. Oh, I guess this is like spoilers. Quit studio mode. We don't need this. Interesting. I would hope there would be slightly better tooling that they used. Cause the inability to move the camera was driving me insane. Like, it was not Oh, well, we're here again. Man, there's so much stuff outside. I haven't even gotten there yet. I do think that I will have to end early because my voice is a little tired and I don't want to stress it. And I'm tired from reading aloud. So I must apologize. But we are... Can I save? I literally don't know how to save. Or can you only save when you're inside the middle of something? Huh. But yep. Let us go here. And let's do landing nonsense. Again, I must apologize. But for some reason, tired. And also a lot of talking. I was thinking something. What was I thinking? I have no idea. Right. So, what's today? Wednesday? So, on Saturday, we'll be continuing playing Later Alligator. And on Monday, we will be playing Going Under. And then next week, I guess we'll continue playing Necrobarista. Which, I guess when people said you can beat the game in 4 hours, they meant if you're not reading it or looking at all the memories. Well, I mean, if you're not reading it out loud, probably would just be so much faster to actually just sit down and read it mentally. I outsourced my timing to the internet and I was led astray. Whoops. No matter, we should be able to get through a lot of it next time, if not all of it. But I'm afraid that will be it for today. thank you so much for coming, and I hope you all have a great day, night, evening, or whatever time it is for you. And I shall see you all next time. Oh. Hold on, I have a button for this, and...